Toolkit for the Next Generation with Erica Bears, author, educator, and mentor. On Behind the Book, let's jump in. I'm Heather Andrews, and on Behind the Book, we journey beyond the cover. On each episode, I dive deep into the minds of authors, unlocking the mysteries behind their literary creations. Discover the stories behind the book exclusively here with me. Welcome back to Behind the Book. On the previous episode with Erica Bears, we talked about how to take your corporate to Mars. We're back with Erica today, and we're going to talk about toolkits for the next generation how they can thrive and succeed in their careers. Welcome back, Erica.
Hi, Heather. How are you?
Absolutely excellent.
Good.
First of all, we've talked about on the episodes that we've done, we've talked about, being an author, then the triple P's in corporate, and then how to go to Mars, and just all of the theories. But what really has come up for us in our conversations is the next generation. And you've mentioned that being an author has opened up so many opportunities for you, and from owning a business to now being a consultant to now teaching the next generation. So I think for you is what I'd really like to dive into on this episode. First of all, is what has writing, getting clarity on all of the knowledge that you have that you can go into the next generation with and teach them. What is your wish for the next generation?
Okay, good question. So the process of the writing piece, so I'll answer that one first, and then I'll move into sort of things that have come out from it, is when you go into the writing piece, you self-reflect on experiences that you've had. Yep. And you go way back, right? So you go back to your childhood and what happened then and how did you overcome it? And it's asking yourself these questions to determine, okay, stuff happens and what did I do to get through it? So luckily, fortunately, or maybe the environment around me has given me a strength that has allowed me to pull through many different obstacles and challenges, and some quite big. And being in education, when you educate as a lecturer, the delivery has to be in a specific way. So you have to have it organized. So you have to be able to explain things, on a platform that is exciting, that is engaging, but you also have to do it in an organized fashion so that the person or the audience is going to understand what you're saying, is going to, learn from what you're saying, and is going to walk away and potentially be able to use this in their life. So for the next generation, which we spoke last episode about, our lives are so different from what they are going through right now. So they have information overload. They have at least, I'm going to say 5, but there's probably more, to 10 different channels of communication that are coming at them. They may have an Insta, a Snapchat, a LinkedIn, 3 or 4 email addresses. And that world is, it's busy. And communication is a key component to it, right? And how do I communicate on Instagram versus LinkedIn versus my emails and so on and so forth? So it becomes this big piece around communication. So now I'll move on to the second question, which is, what do I hope for the next generation? And how am I going to use the books and the new me, I suppose, like presenting and so on and so forth in that space to support them? So as an educator, I am so fulfilled. Like, I love the fact that I get to help students create a toolkit to be successful out in the world, in industry specifically.
As you've walked through being an author and an educator, what is your hope for the next generation, knowing everything that you know now, and what can you expend on them?
Definitely. So writing in these books allows us to reflect on experiences and obstacles that we've gone through in our past and how we actually overcome them. So being able to write out structured ways on how the next generation can use these tools to go through over challenges and obstacles that they might face in the workplace, specifically for this particular book. Now, the other books that are coming are more on how do they get through more emotional or personal struggles or challenges. So my hope for the next generation, and we've talked about my kids and we've talked about the students that I work with in different institutions across North America, It is the most fulfilling job in the world, by the way. The fact that you get to be a part and see their growth and watch them grow and get their self-confidence and get the knowledge that they need to sort of be confident out in the workplace. It's an amazing thing. So I want them to learn to use their voice, to learn to communicate effectively, to learn to stand up for themselves, which this new generation is a generation of activists, but it's finding the right or it's finding the voice that's inside of them. So activists, sometimes it needs to come from what they really value, what they really want to talk about. But at one of the institutions that I work with, which I mentioned in the last episode, their focus is on social justice. And I love that. I think it's really, really interesting. It's really cool. And I teach communications at that school, communication theory and practice, as well as I support students in putting them into their practicum placements. Mm-hmm. So my goal for sort of the education piece and the student piece is to give them a platform and the confidence to speak up when they need to, but speak appropriately in the situations that they're in. So like I mentioned earlier, their world there's so much information in it. They have TMI all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Because they've got the internet, they've got, 3 or 4 email addresses, they've got Instagram, they've got Snapchat, they've got LinkedIn. There's so many different vectors that they're getting communicated at. And how do they decipher how to speak on each platform? How do they communicate, professionally, diplomatic, to get them the next job or to build that community that they need to build, mm-hmm. right? Because you need your network, you need your village to be successful in the workplace, mm-hmm. but you also need the knowledge. You also need to sort of communicate effectively that gets you that job, that gets you and brand yourself appropriately mm-hmm. and effectively. So I would put many different tools in their kit, and I educate on many different areas, and it even down to how to write a proper email when I'm looking for a job, or how to write an email when I'm looking for a promotion. Mm-hmm. How do I communicate effectively on social media? How do I use Slack at work? How do I use Salesforce at work? How do I use CRM systems to build my network? So there's many different things, and we go through multiple platforms. And I even go deep into how we're going to use AI. Now, some educators may not want to use AI in their platform, and I respect that. I do want to use it. I think that AI, I'm hitting my mic, aren't I? I think that AI is a tool. Now, but that's the most important piece to sort of say, it's a tool. It is not a crutch. And I think this is the thing as an educator, is what we see is rather than a student taking AI to use it as something to help them, sometimes students will use AI to do it for them. Mm-hmm. And this is a really big piece that I've been sort of integrating into my education is, write it yourself and, get the information and do the research, and then use AI to help support you with, maybe you need to make it sound more professional, or maybe you need to shorten it a little or lengthen it a little. And these are the types of things. And then to give credit where credit is due. So if they're using AI, to give credit there. So there's many tools that I'm providing them, but I think they all fall into communication and confidence. Mm-hmm. So if they can communicate effectively and they have the confidence to walk in there and say it the way they need to say it, or the way that the culture that they're moving into will understand it, and they can land that job, then we have, as educators, have set them up for success to be out there. And then strength and resilience is another piece. So how do I deal with conflict? How do I manage conflict? So I teach conflict management as well as another piece at BCIT. And so in that space where the conflict management piece comes into play, that just gives them the strength to deal with it when it comes, and how do I handle it with poise? How do I handle it with strength? But not to burn bridges, right? You want to keep you never want to burn bridges ever. So you want to try to make sure that how you handle it and how you sort of walk away from that situation, you can walk away confidently saying, I said the right thing there. I did the right thing there. Now, I don't do it all the time, but I have experience as to how the younger generation can do it, because I have walked away successful, happy, confident, and felt resilient in many ways. And that's where these books come into play. Absolutely. That it's possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love that. So thank you for all of that, because there's just a lot of times it's not succinct.
Yeah.
You know, and our younger generation is like, well, I'm told to do this and I'm told to do that and I'm told to do this and I'm told to do that. And really, if it boils down to communication and confidence, and I've always told my kids, you know, and other people that I've mentored, don't burn the bridge, right? Exit stage left professionally.
Exactly.
Because you never know when you have to go back.
Yeah, or when you're going to sort of face that space or place again, right?
Absolutely. And just one of the last topics that I just want to kind of do a little bit of a deep dive before we finish up, is we talked a lot about you had a successful business. And our youngers want that instantaneous. And sometimes we have to just walk the walk and build the build, and then those opportunities come when you have the experience, right? And that's where that obstacle piece comes into play.
Definitely.
And I think one of the things that I love about you is that you had, and we were talking about this during the break, was, you know, you had your successful business, but now you've got your, you know, your little kids and you're mentoring them. You know, it works better for you to be a consultant.
It does.
And, you know, it doesn't mean that you're not going to do something later down the way, but I think it's almost like giving permission
Definitely.
to women to just recognize, yes, this is a dream of mine, and that dream will come when it's supposed to, when I'm prepared. And I've just walked that in my whole life, right? And I had to get my ego out of the way, but it was beautiful. And I just really want to kind of do a little bit of a question around that instantaneous versus having the experience and knowing that the opportunities that they're there and they'll present themselves.
They will come. Yeah.
They will come, and just give a little bit of an insight on that, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. So I'll start with, you know, when I was younger.
Yeah.
You know, you want to chomp it, you want to get it all, you want to do everything, and that is such a fuel for being successful. But like I said in my other episode, it didn't happen instantaneously. I had to work my butt off. So one of the pieces, and I'll get into sort of the piece as you get older and start to see security as more of a piece when you have children. I'm not diving out of planes anymore or bungee jumping anymore because I have my little ones and I need to make sure. But when I was younger, I had that brain. I had that sort of, you know, risk adverse emotion to just do, be, and get it fast. Now, slowing that down it's not easy, right? So you have to instill patience in your children, but you also have to take the wins. So every little stepping stone that a student and or as an employee that you get, and that goes back to how you treat people in businesses, right? So if you have a generation that is wanting promotion, that is wanting to continuously grow, then have a growth strategy for your employees. Make sure that they have these stepping stones that makes them feel like they're being rewarded for their job, because otherwise you're going to lose them. So I think it's about making sure, as leaders of organizations, as parents of children, as mentors to children, as aunties or, you know, grandparents, that we instill in the next generation that is moving fast, by the way. So it is not their fault. The generation is just so fast. Like everything they do, it's instantaneous. You know, they want to watch a show, it comes on right away. We had to go sit through commercials, and we had this patience when we were younger, but we still had the tenacity or the passion to want to succeed. So I think it comes from a leadership level, it comes from a parenting level. Now, if we go into the other piece where it's, you know, you're starting to get older and, you know, you've had your business, but now you're starting to have babies and you need to understand about balance and making sure you pay your bills, and you can't just fly off to, you know, different parts of the world and not be there for your children, right? That becomes a totally different, and I'm going to be transparent, Heather. Sometimes I wish that I was still flying to different places and doing that, but at the same time, it doesn't even match the feeling I feel when I'm with my kids. Like, it's not even close. Yep. So it's like this, right? There's a couple of times, but so then I just do it like for things like this. You know, I'll come and do a little bit of getaway, and then mom gets a little reprieve where she can be business. But you know, it's just a balancing act, but it's also where your priorities shift. Yeah. So I do this exercise with my students. It's based on the Schwartz circumplex model, and it's to identify the values of people. So in the classroom, there's a series of values that I put on a board, and they have to choose their top 10 values, and then we break it down to their 5 5 and then 3 and then 2 and then 1, and we identify what everybody's individual most value is. And these are things like family or adventure, and they go into this model. Then what they have to do is choose their top 3 and their bottom 3, and then they post it around the walls in the room. And it's so interesting to see. If you have generation gaps, there's all these little patterns of the room showing, what the values of this room are. And companies can do this to identify what the values of their organization are. So as you get older, your values and what is important to you changes. Mm-hmm. And you have to be okay with that. And I think it's important that everybody out there just follow your values and what is important to you. And I promise the success and the happiness will come. Because if you're not following your values, I've been in situations where I went against my value system and it just got harder and harder and harder and harder. And as soon as I removed it, it was like, oh my God, this is what I'm supposed to feel. This is how I'm supposed to be. Yes. Oh, thank gosh I got rid of that feeling. So the younger generation, follow that, what it is, and identify what it is too. So do some work, do some self-reflection, and identify what is important to me. What do I value? What are my values? What did my parents teach me? Is it the same as how I feel, right? And it's okay if your values are different than your parents. It's okay that your values are different than at the workplace. But identify where you feel the most fulfillment, because fulfillment drives you to want to be successful. It drives your confidence. It makes you feel, empowered because you're happy in your space.
Beautiful.
So I guess that's where I would, hopefully I answered that question. But
you did a beautiful job.
It was long-winded, but I'm really passionate about it because I have had conflicted values with work and things. And as soon as I made the shift, it was like, just the weight lifts and you can just live happy and be happy. And then success has come from that. Every door is opened. Yeah. So it's fantastic to do that.
I love that. And where can people find you on social media?
Okay, so you can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Erica Bears, Bearss, so 2 S's. You can find me on Linktree as well as Instagram. I have a new handle there called Bears Biz, which is BearsSBiz. I look forward to hearing from you.
Excellent. And thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. I want to hug you.
I know.
Can we hug? Or we'll just do hand hug. Okay.
And as you heard it from Erica, full of knowledge. Make sure you check out the previous episodes if this was the first one you saw, because there's lots of wisdom, lots of knowledge, and lots of experiences, both personally and professionally, shared. Till next time. I'm Heather Andrews, and on Behind the Book, we journey beyond the cover. On each episode, I dive deep into the minds of authors, unlocking the mysteries behind their literary creations. Discover the stories behind the book exclusively here with me.